My participants are not reaching their retirement goals. What can I do to help them?
We should focus on plan design. The most popular method for examining this is called the 3 C's: cost, compounding, and contribution. Let's start by looking at the cost of your mutual funds through examining the stated expense ratios for each.
Yes, cost is very important. But if we're only looking at the stated expense ratios defined in the prospectuses, what about all the additional fees?
What do you mean by additional fees?
I'm talking about trading expenses and hidden fees like revenue sharing.
I wouldn't worry about that. We can lower the cost of investments by selecting mutual funds with lower expense ratios, which therefore lowers the cost of the investments without being concerned about revenue sharing.
But if we are looking to lower the total cost of investments in order to help participants keep more money in their accounts, shouldn't we look at the impact revenue sharing is having? Not to mention that the November Department of Labor regulatory changes on fee disclosure requires these expenses to be disclosed on participants' quarterly statements.
I wouldn't worry about that. All that is required now is for us to put a general disclaimer on the quarterly statements which states that some of the investment returns were used to pay for plan expenses.
But what if a participant asks how much?
Some.
Some? What does that even mean? That doesn't answer their question.
I wouldn't worry about that. In January, under Regulation 408B2, the new requirements are for service providers to give you that information in a formula or in dollars and cents.
So I will have cost information which I suppose will be provided to me in dollars and cents, or in a formula which I can convert to dollars and cents so I can make sure they're reasonable. Wouldn't that create a potential fiduciary complication for me under ERISA by not disclosing that material information to participants on their quarterly statements instead of using a general disclaimer?
Let's move on. There are other ways to help your participants through the second C, compounding. Compounding can be thought of as returns over a period of time. For this, I think we can both agree that an investment professional has a better chance of achieving consistent returns than participants.
I would agree with that. Investing is complicated and my participants have other things to worry about than understanding things like asset allocation.
I agree completely, and it's important that we focus on asset allocation, so let's turn these decisions over to a professional so your participants don't have to worry about them.
That is a great idea. How can we do that?
Well, asset allocation models are age-based and change over time from aggressive to conservative as a participant approaches retirement. There are 2 options for us here. We can design asset allocation models in a guide, or better yet, we utilize target date funds, so all your participants have to do is contribute and let the professionals handle how their asset allocations change over time.
But I thought target date funds were expensive. Doesn't that violate the first C? And what about need? I like the idea of offering professional management, but what if one of my participants goes into a target date fund that has a conservative asset allocation while the person has a low balance and needs to take on more risk to reach their retirement goals?
Then we can also offer the asset allocation models. We will pick funds and provide them with a guide on what to buy.
So they would still be required to handle the buying and selling of their individual positions to match the updated asset allocation?
Yes, but we have solved the problems we outlined earlier. They wouldn't have to decide how much to buy and of which fund.
Would you change these models?
As market conditions changed, we will update you quarterly.
Do you really think all my participants will keep up with that? Can we make that happen automatically so that when you update the asset allocation models quarterly and make changes, a participant who decides to use your models won't have to calculate how much to buy and sell and place trades on their own 4 times a year?
Let's move on. The third C is contribution. Even if we offer the best performance in the world to participants, they are not going to reach their retirement goals unless they are contributing enough.
I agree. We really need to work on increasing contribution. What are your thoughts on this?
We are going to educate your participants in general terms and give them access to many online retirement calculators to help them plan and see if they're on track.
And what information do they have to enter into the retirement calculator?
Well, general information like age, salary, Retirement age, target rate of return.
Target rate of return. How do they figure that out if they were in a target date fund with a changing asset allocation?
I wouldn't worry about that. The important thing is that we educate them.
Can we just have one retirement calculator that pre-populates everything for them? Factors their portfolio returns and uses their census information from payroll data to do the work for them so it is as easy as possible?
Well,
I mean, the average participant only spends 14 seconds a quarter looking at their plan anyway. Shouldn't it be easy?
that's not necessary because we are going to educate them.
But what if they own a target date fund and 2 to 3 other target date funds like the research suggests? How then will they determine returns or target rates of return from all that information?
We will meet with them and figure it out.
I have participants everywhere, you know. How can you meet with all of them?
A benefit of our size is that they can walk into any one of our offices nationwide.
So each participant will have a different experience. Isn't turnover in your business exceptionally high?
Diversity is very important in investing. But let's move on. When was the last time you looked at your TPO fees?
Every time I get a bill it looks like attorney fees.
I won't worry about that. The expense is deducted from plan assets. You're not having to pay for it.
But that goes back to the first C, cost. And what about my audit fees? I pay so much and have no audit protection in the event of a DOL audit with this disclaimer opinion.
I wouldn't worry about that.
What should I worry about? I'm back to where I started. How can I help my participants better reach their retirement goals?
How would you like to sit courtside at the next home basketball game?
No. This is what I want. Low-cost investment options with no revenue sharing and no internal trading fees.
That would be an exchange-traded fund. We don't offer that.
Then I want these investments to be used by a professional to design age-based asset allocation models that change once a quarter automatically to keep expenses down and make it easy for participants to get the benefit of a target date fund that adjusts their asset allocation over time, but addresses their needs so they can easily move from one model to the other. I also want the performance of these models in the census information for my participants to be automatically uploaded into a retirement calculator so all they have to do is click next and see if they're on track for retirement or if they need to increase their contribution and show them by how much exactly.
That integration is not possible.
And as far as the cost for this, I want all of my expenses disclosed to participants on their quarterly statements in dollars and cents so everyone knows exactly what they pay. And while I'm at it, I also want to dump this disclaimer audit opinion and get an unqualified one so I have protection in the event of a DOL audit.
Look, it is simply not possible to offer everything you want here from us or any other major service provider. The only way you're going to get all that is to contact Neil Planet Invest and Retire at 503-419-2894.
Maybe I will contact Neil Planet Invest and Retire. But I might also visit investandretire.com for more information.